Welcome to the Terror Dome, y'all. Once again back is the incredible CT bringing the long-awaited list on Public Enemy. If PE is not the best or greatest hip-hop group of all time, they are without question the most necessary, because unfortunately, the more things change, the more they stay the same. The influence of PE's sound and style is readily heard in the music of major rappers like Tupac, Eminem, Nas, and Ice Cube, as well as their radicalism whispering through the music of Mos Def, Yasin Bey, Talib Kweli, Immortal Technique, and Dead Prez. Who are these men that unquestionably changed the game? Chuck D, the MC, the brother doesn't think he's nice, he knows he's nice. Flavor Flav, the greatest hype man in hip-hop history and the world's oldest teenager. Professor Griff, the stoic face of black militancy, leader of the S1Ws, that's security of the First World Forces, basically Dr. Umar without the beard. Terminator X, the silent menace on the turntables, innovator of the Transformer Scratch, one of the sickest DJs to ever have touched the ones and twos. The Bomb Squad, comprised of brothers Hank and Keith Shockley, Vietnam, and G Wiz, the makers of a one-of-a-kind wall of sound that mashed up dozens of samples at a time. At their peak, PE moved less like a rap group and more like a paramilitary organization. In this episode, we are ranking the 17 official albums from the militants of hip-hop music. For much of the background on the men and the music, we will be drawing a lot from journalist Russell Myrie's excellent biography on the group, Don't Rhyme for the Sake of Riddling, the authorized story of Public Enemy. Culturalist Theory is a channel that does deep research, so hating on this list only shows you're a buster, but bring the noise in the comments if you want to fight the power. Be sure to like and share this content and support our Patreon. Now, you know what time it is, like Flavor Flav's clock. Number 17, Man Plans, God Laughs. In 2013, Public Enemy was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 6 years before Janet Jackson, 7 before Whitney Houston, and 9 before LL Cool J. Even Lenny Kravitz still hasn't gotten in. Go check our list out on him too. And while the group that said Elvis was a hero to most but never meant shit to me probably couldn't have cared less, the honor is still major. To ride the wave, they released their third greatest hits album, Planet Earth, and followed it with their 15th studio album, Man Plans, God Laughs, 2 years later. What does a Hall of Fame induction have to do with Man Plans? Absolutely nothing, but we figured we'd start this review off with a compliment. By this point in PE's catalog, some of these later projects start feeling more like Chuck D's solo experiments than true Public Enemy albums. On track 10, Chuck drops one of the most cringe-worthy bars of his career. Planet Earth, I'm an Earthizen? In a well-meaning but awkward attempt to raise environmental awareness. And if you made it that far, you probably caught Honky Tonk Rules, a country hip-hop fusion that nobody asked for. This was an independent digital drop, and sonically, it sounds as synthetic and flat as the streaming platforms it lives on. The only song really worth revisiting is Mine Again, a powerful meditation on the complexities African Americans have with reconnecting with Africa. This song was too short, but the rest of this LP, running only 27 minutes, was dreadfully too long. Number 16, Nothing is Quick in the Desert. As mentioned in the intro, Public Enemy is a highly influential group, and that influence is bigger than rap. Rock and roll bands like Rage Against the Machine, Linkin Park, System of a Down, and for better or worse, Limp Bizkit owe homage to Public Enemy for laying the groundwork for mixing rap and rock aesthetics. They're among other Def Jam groups like the Beastie Boys and Run DMC. Hell, the entire genre of nu metal can be a branch of the PE family tree. From their inception, PE included hard electric guitars on their albums and frequently toured with bands around the world. Chuck D even formed a rap rock band called Prophets of Rage with Cypress Hill and Rage Against the Machine members Tom Morello, Brad Wilk, and Tim Comerford. All of this is mentioned to lead into their 16th album, Nothing is Quick in the Desert, a 2017 surprise free release on Bandcamp that feels more rock and roll than any other PE album. On a majority of songs, there are slamming live drums and whirling electric guitar riffs and solos. This results in anthemic moments like Beat the All, Smash the Crowd featuring PMD and fellow rapper-turned-rocker Ice-T, as well as So Be It and MC Jahi. Probably the most moving song comes at the end, Rest in Beats Part 1 and 2. It's a tribute to all the rappers and rock stars who passed away before it turns into an epic guitar solo. While Nothing is Quick is great for fans of this subgenre of rap and rock, the album misses that pure hip-hop feel aside from the DJ scratches and Chuck's obvious prowess as an MC. But this album proves that PE's entrance into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was well deserved. Number 15, There's a Poison Going On. If you've seen our Trick Daddy ranking, you know the Y2K era in hip-hop is one of the most fascinating and understudied periods in the culture. The late 90s had rappers making predictions about the future of black life, from high-tech utopias to total collapse. Public Enemy leaned into that wave hard, dropping not one, but two Y2K albums, 1998's He Got Game and 1999's There's a Poison Going On. So what did the most politically charged group in hip-hop have to say as the world braced for digital doomsday? Unfortunately, not a lot of it lands. Chuck D opens World Tour sessions with the line, "Behold, the whole planet's upside down," followed by a hook that shrugs, "Round and around we go, where the world's heading, nobody knows." That's a letdown, especially compared to the sharper futurism on He Got Game. On tracks like LSD and First Sheep Next to Shepherd, Chuck sounds like one of Alex Jones's earliest listeners, rambling through conspiracy theories with no clear through line. Still, there are moments of brilliance. 4119 pays tribute to Amadou Diallo, the 19-year-old shot 41 times by NYPD, and Crash pairs Chuck's anti-establishment bars with classic PE energy. But overall, the album struggles with scattered themes and off-kilter production. It was ahead of its time in one way. PE dropped it online through Atomic Pop, making them the first major group to release an album digitally. But by the time Koch did a physical release 5 years later, the hype was gone. Ironically, the best part, the bonus remixes at the end. They go way harder than most of the original track list. Number 14, New World Odor. Chuck D once famously rapped, "I don't rhyme for the sake of riddling." If that's true, Chuck, please explain this bar.
Community hoses who be posing as Moses in street clothes, who be closes and blows.
This is from the opener of Public Enemy's 9th album, New World Odor, another indie release similar to 1999's There's a Poison, in the sense that its experimentalism isn't the best representation of Public Enemy's powers. This 2005 album would be PE's first album in 3 years after their brilliant 2002 album, Revolvolution, and a subsequent world tour, forming the rock group Band along the way. On the accompanying New World Odor DVD, Chuck D talks about the enthusiastic plans to take advantage of the digital age by dropping a lot of music via his imprint Slam Jams. However, this album doesn't feel like a traditional Public Enemy album, as this is the first to not have a Flavor Flav solo song, something we look forward to, and production from little-known beatmakers who don't capture the PE essence. Ironically, EDM artist Moby creates the best soundscape for Chuck D and Flavor Flav to fight the power with Make Love, Fuck War. This high-energy track shows why both Moby and Public Enemy make their fans pump their fists in the air, albeit for different reasons. Aside from that, there are hits and misses. Revolution featuring Society is one of the standouts, though Professor Griff's verse is horrendous. Check What You're Listening To is horrorcore as Chuck D grabs you by the collar with his bellowing voice. Finally, the 11-minute epic that ends the album, Superman's Black in the Building, is the closest Public Enemy has ever come to making something that could rival Outkast's Liberation. However, many of the other songs here have production so off-putting or lyrics so meandering that they're immediate turnoffs. See, y'all don't know what a fool believes and makes you blind. Or don't. Number 13, The Evil Empire of Everything. If you listen to almost any interview with Chuck D, it becomes immediately apparent that he is extremely knowledgeable about the history of the music business and its exploitative practices. The title of Public Enemy's 13th album, The Evil Empire of Everything, is meant to label the industry for what it is, according to Chuck. It was released independently in 2012 on the same day as PE's 14th LP, Most of My Heroes Still Don't Appear on No Stamp, with both albums being described as fraternal twins. Is it wrong to say we like one of the kids more than the other? While Most of My Heroes was more focused and felt authentically PE, Evil Empire sounds more disjointed and like a compilation of jam session throwaways. That doesn't mean this record doesn't have some heat though. The recent murder of Trayvon Martin haunts the first half of the album, as the opening skit features DJ Lord scratching George Zimmerman's infamous 911 call before the songs Don't Give Up the Fight with Ziggy Marley, One Piece, To Respect, and Beyond Trayvon all tackle the subject from different angles. After that, Flavor Flav appears out of nowhere with the jammin' solo 31 Flavors, and Chuck D remixes the PE classic Right Started with rock stars Tom Morello and Henry Rollins. However, those are the highlights on this record. Nothing else really grabs you by the collar like the best of PE does. While we salute Chuck D for leading Public Enemy into a guerrilla war against the evil empire by going independent and underground, not every round needs to be fired. Number 12, what you gonna do when the grid goes down? Most of Public Enemy's most iconic work came during the Reagan and George H.W. Bush years. Not a coincidence. Both Republican presidencies ushered in an era of policy that gutted support for Black, poor, and marginalized communities. That's the backdrop for classics like Fight the Power and 911 is a Joke, as PE watched programs get defunded, police given carte blanche, voting rights attacked, and media deregulated, paving the way for a reality TV star to spew racism unchecked until he landed in the Oval Office. That same star, once president, inspired a wave of protest music in the culture. J. Cole's For Your Eyes Only and Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly marked the beginning of a resurgence. And in 2020, Chuck D came out swinging again on What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down, Public Enemy's 17th and for now, final album. He spits,
Those who voted this POTUS, killing kid for the win, citizens suffering while he be ballin'.
The album is Chuck, Flav, Griff, and a stacked guest list sounding recharged, especially on songs like State of the Union with DJ Premier, Grid with Cypress Hill and George Clinton, and Toxic. A good chunk of the album remixes tracks from 2017's Nothing Is Quick in the Desert, but the upgrades hit. Smash the Crowd, Go At It, and if you can't join them, all land harder. But the standouts? Public Enemy #1 with Run DMC and Beastie Boys, and the 2020 Fight the Power remix with Nas, Rhapsody, Black Thought, YG, and Questlove. With Trump 2.0 just beginning in 2025, the door is wide open for another PE classic in the making. Number 11, Rebirth of a Nation. There's a Chappelle Show skit where Negro Damas says, "White people love Wayne Brady because he makes Bryant Gumbel look like Malcolm X." If Chuck D is Wayne Brady in that comparison, Oakland's Paris is definitely Gumbel. If Bryant Gumbel rapped about assassinating politicians. A child of the Public Enemy lineage, Paris is far more radical than Chuck ever was, and his 1992 album, Sleeping with the Enemy, comes highly recommended by the CT Squad. In 2006, Public Enemy teamed up with Paris for their 11th album, Rebirth of a Nation, a follow-up that came just 6 months after New World Odor. Entirely produced by Paris, the album brings together a lineup of militant voices from PE's family tree: Dead Prez, Cam, Immortal Technique, The Conscious Daughters, MC Ren, and Sister Souljah. It only peaked at number 180 on the Billboard 200 at a time when Southern gangster rap dominated, but proved there was still a lane for revolutionary bars. This was a sonic role reversal. Public Enemy, who once gave Ice Cube the Bomb Squad sound, now came west for G-Funk vibes. Rebirth thumps with deep bass lines and melodies, specifically on Hell No, We Ain't Alright, Watch the Door, and Invisible Man remix. Meanwhile, Can't Hold Us Back and Hard Truth Soldiers bring the fury. Instrumentally, politically, and lyrically, the album hits. But here's why it doesn't rank higher. It's basically a Paris album with Chuck D on guest vocals. Chuck even admitted Paris ghost wrote a lot of it. Once you hear solo Paris on Hannibal Lecture, the difference is clear. Chuck sounds like MLK, while Paris is pure Malcolm. Number 10, Revolverlution. If there's one thing you have to give Public Enemy credit for, it's being one of the best live acts in hip-hop history. Back when most rap shows were a mess of poor sound and weak stage performance, PE came correct, with Flav hyping the crowd, the S1Ws stepping in formation, and Brother Drew making sure the audio hit crisp. Their 9th album, Revolverlution, captures their electric energy, especially on live versions of My Uzi Weighs a Ton, Fight the Power, and Welcome to the Terror Dome. Released in 2002 on Koch Records, Revolverlution barely cracked the Billboard 200, but it deserves more flowers. The album blends 9 new songs, tour recordings, interview snippets, and fan-made remixes of PE classics. And that last part is important. Over 11,000 fans from around the world submitted remixes through publicenemy.com. Most of them, including flips of Shut 'Em Down and Public Enemy #1, actually go hard, arguably harder than the original versions. Except for By the Time I Get to Arizona remix, which should have stayed in someone's hard drive. What elevates this record is that the new material is just as compelling. Tracks like Gotta Give the Peeps What They Need, Put It Up, and Son of a Bush, an anti-Iraq war protest song, show Chuck D and crew still had the fire in their bellies. Not everyone was present. Terminator X was on hiatus, though DJ Lord held it down on the ones and twos. Professor Griff, however, reminds us why he's more a minister of information than a rapper, dropping duds like nowadays. Still, Revolution is a time capsule and a testament to why PE stays booked and busy. Number 9. How you sell soul to a soulless people who sold their soul. The pairing of the flamboyant Flavor Flav with the stoic Chuck D might seem odd at first glance. But like Huey and Riley from the Boondocks, the contrast created a dynamic that balanced radical messaging with fun. For years, Flav was praised for being the comic relief that lured folks into Public Enemy's world. That changed when he became the face of VH1's reality TV. It all started with The Surreal Life in 2004, followed by Strange Love with Bridget Nielsen, and culminated in Flavor of Love, a hit that drew in 7.5 million viewers at its peak. Flavor of Love may seem tame now, but back then, the idea of a group of young women fighting over a B-list rapper old enough to be their dad was scandalous. Many longtime PE fans were disappointed, but Chuck D never bashed Flav. Instead, he supported his ventures, hoping they'd keep his brother clean. And despite the TV chaos, Flav was still rocking shows, appearing on albums, and even dropped his solo LP Hollywood in 2006. That leads us to PE's 12th album, How You Sell Soul to a Soulless People Who Sold Their Soul, released in 2007 while the world was wondering if Flav would choose Delicious or New York. The album, years in the making, contains songs originally cut from Revolution and New World Odor, and many hit harder than either. The first half is packed with standouts like Harder Than You Think and Sex, Drugs, and Violence with KRS-One. The back half is more uneven, but Chuck's See Something, Say Something and Flav's Bridge to Pain are undeniable. The album celebrates PE's 20th anniversary during a time when their legacy was questioned, but it proved that brotherhood runs deeper than headlines. Number 8. Greatest Misses. The B-sides win again. If we're including Revolution in this ranking, we've got to salute its spiritual predecessor, 1992's Greatest Misses, a slept-on but pivotal moment in Public Enemy's story. Between 1987 and 1992, PE was untouchable. Gold and platinum plaques, sold-out tours, and controversy that only fueled their rise. After Apocalypse 91, Def Jam wanted a greatest hits album to cash in on the momentum. PE said no to the easy bag and instead flipped the concept, delivering a defiant blend of new joints, remixes, and one of their best live recordings. Greatest Misses features 6 unreleased tracks, 6 remixes of PE staples, and a blistering live version of Pete Rock's remix of Shut 'Em Down. It hit number 13 on Billboard 200 and was one of the last PE albums to go gold. You can hear the crew's confidence all over it. Chuck D is looser, trying new flows on Ty Goes the Runner and Hit the Road Jack, while Flav balances comic relief and real talk with Get Off My Back, a personal anti-crack anthem. The Bomb Squad is still in top form. Hazy Shade of Criminal sounds like it could have launched another rapper's career if they touched it first. The remixes elevate the material even further. Jam Master Jay flips Louder Than a Bomb, Salaam Remi brings grit to How to Kill a Radio Consultant, and Sir Jinx reimagines Who Stole the Soul. The Black Wax remix of Party for Your Right to Fight might even outshine the original, but it's Pete Rock's Closer that steals the show and makes you wish he produced the whole thing. Critics weren't ready, and fans weren't either, but 30 years later, Greatest Misses deserves more love, for its risk, its rawness, and for being the last ride with the full original crew. Number 7. He Got Game. 1998's He Got Game was a reunion album on multiple fronts. After a lukewarm response to their 1994 release, Public Enemy took a break. Tensions with Def Jam, especially around the label shelving Flavor Flav solo, along with Professor Griff's exit and Bomb Squad fractures, added to the silence. But Spike Lee quietly pulled the group back together when he tapped PE to score He Got Game, his 11th film. Their previous collab, Fight the Power, had already become iconic thanks to Do the Right Thing. This marked the first time a single rap group scored an entire album. Whether Spike required the full lineup or not, Chuck D, Flav, Griff, Terminator X, and most of the Bomb Squad showed up. Sonically, the album is stripped down compared to PE's earlier work. Fewer dense samples, more space for Chuck and Flav's verses to breathe. This makes Chuck's lyricism on tracks like Resurrection and Unstoppable with KRS-One hit harder, though KRS still arguably steals the show. The first half of the album is less tied to the film's plot and more reflective, exploring themes like hip-hop's post-Biggie Tupac identity on He Got Game and Is Your God a Dog. The second half hits harder thematically, diving into capitalist exploitation with politics of the sneaker pimps, What You Need Is Jesus, and Super Agent. These tracks channel the inner monologue of Jesus Shuttlesworth, the film's main character, touching on sweatshop labor, the commodification of black athletes, and the shady world of sports agents. Not every track lands. Go Cat Go feels out of place, and Flav's Shake Your Booty makes you understand why his solo never saw daylight. Still, He Got Game is a thoughtful, timely album that deserved more than its modest 50K first week sales. Curious where we rank the film? Watch our Denzel 90s video, and stay tuned for that Spike Lee list. Number 6, Most of My Heroes Still Don't Appear on No Stamp. I'm not scared of evolution, but I stand for revolution, bellows Chuck D on Get Up, Stand Up from the 13th album and first in the 2010s from Public Enemy. Lifting one of the famous bars from Fight the Power, Most of My Heroes is a return to form album that shows PE still has a lot of fight left in him. Chuck D is self-aware of his triple OG status, and this is reflected in the raps with bars like I Work It, The Senior Circuit, on I Shall Not Be Moved. On production, the album matches that maturity by being powered by live drums, electric guitars, and funky bass lines from an assortment of producers new and old. Props to G Wiz from the Bomb Squad, Freddie Fox, Large Professor, and mashup DJ Z-Trip for laying a fantastic bedrock of sound. This 11-song album is one of the shorter PE projects and is the first in their catalog to not have a Flavor Flav solo song, unfortunately. However, the breathing room allows Chuck D to drop knowledge on a variety of topics while Flav does backup. Fast food is a metaphor about mindless media, Truth Decay covers the increasing lack of reliability of information, and Hoover Music tackles how some rappers promote messages that the enemies of Black progress would applaud. At my age, if I can't teach, I shouldn't even open my mouth to speak, raps Chuck on several songs here. That repetition is evidently intentional, but Chuck isn't the only one dropping gems. Brother Ali brings his A game on Get Up, Stand Up, Bump Knuckles goes crazy on Get It In, and Cormega steals the show on Catch the Throne. Even Flavor Flav gets personal and political, dropping 32 thought-provoking bars on the closer WTF. All the while this is happening, Terminator X's replacement DJ Lord does insane scratches on the Wheels of Steel, and short interludes at the end of songs shout out various figures who deserve to be on US postage, like John Brown, Mumia Abu-Jamal, Angela Davis, Malcolm X, and more. The only misstep is the collab with DMC on Real Talk that just feels empty compared to others. Regardless, Most of My Heroes is a fantastic album, a hip-hop purist's dream entering the second decade of 2K and beyond. Do you think the reality star in the Oval Office would approve a Flavor Flav stamp? Number 5, Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Black. Public Enemy's fourth album, Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Black, arrived after 2 years of personal and professional turbulence. In 1989, controversy over Professor Griff's incendiary comments nearly broke the group apart. A year later, they dropped their most acclaimed and commercially successful album, Fear of a Black Planet, and toured to sold-out arenas. But behind the scenes, things were unraveling. Flavor Flav's drug use and erratic behavior caused friction, rumors swirled about Terminator X going solo, and copyright lawsuits against Fear forced the Bomb Squad to tone down their sample-heavy style. Then, mid-production on Apocalypse, the group's original beat tapes were reportedly stolen, pushing Hank Shockley and crew to rebuild everything using live musicians. Despite these setbacks, PE delivered another landmark project. Apocalypse 91 became their highest charting album on the Billboard 200 at number 4, their second number 1 on the rap chart, and their final project to go platinum. Critics praised it as one of 1991's best albums across any genre. Even with a few rough edges, the record is raw, essential, and full of urgency. Chuck D's lyrical firehouse is fully intact from the jump. Lost at Birth to Rebirth to Night Train is a ferocious opening run. Can't Trust It brilliantly connects the transatlantic slave trade to modern-day industry exploitation, while 1 Million Bottle Bags takes aim at alcoholism in the Black community. Truck's razor-sharp delivery is all over this album. Why pop the rhyme on a rhymer when I kick it? I'd rather spend my time spitting on a bigot. Hot damn. As always, PE didn't shy away from the controversy. By the Time I Get to Arizona is a sonic gut punch aimed at lawmakers blocking MLK Day, and his music video features the group assassinating politicians. Meanwhile, Flav gets playful and personal on More News at 11 and Letter to the New York Post, calling out media slander with levity and bounce. The album ends with a thrash metal remix of Bring the Noise, featuring Anthrax, laying groundwork for the new metal wave that followed. Though the production doesn't hit the heights of Nation, Fear, or Bum Rush, these beats still knock. And while their anti-media stance can feel repetitive, Apocalypse 91 stands as another vital entry in PE's incredible run. Number 4, Music in Our Message. Here's something that might surprise you. Flavor Flav isn't just a wild hype man, he's a multi-instrumentalist who plays bass, keys, and makes beats. That detail matters because Public Enemy's 6th album, Music in Our Message, marks a shift from their classic Bomb Squad sound into something more musically diverse and layered. But despite the evolution, this 1994 album is often left off the golden age conversations alongside Illmatic, Ready to Die, and Southern Playalistic. Why? First, PE had just dropped Greatest Misses, a remix album with a few new tracks that critics and fans panned, breaking their run of critical dominance. Second, Chuck D was 34. It might seem natural now for us to listen to middle-aged MCs, but in the early 90s, hip-hop was still considered a young man's game, so PE was over the hill. Third, gangsta rap was dominating in 94, and Public Enemy's critiques of G-Funk era rappers didn't go over well. The Source and Rolling Stone called their album preachy and out of touch. But Chuck D saw this coming. On a hidden intro track, only found by rewinding track 1, he predicted the backlash, a brilliant overlooked move. Has any other hip-hop album done this? We can't find any other examples, but if you know, put us on in the comments. Behind the scenes, things were getting messy. Chuck D signed a bad deal with Polygram Records, which complicated PE's relationship with Def Jam, album promo was fumbled, and members of the Bomb Squad, G Wiz and Hank Shocklee, fell out due to production credits, causing G Wiz to leave the group altogether. The result? An abysmal 57,000 copies sold in week 1. The project eventually sold 500,000 to earn PE's last plaque, proving this album has legs to carry itself beyond its initial stumble. How does it sound? Well, it's there to pimp a butterfly. Unapologetically black in sound and substance. Live instrumentation, reggae, funk, and rock all over this record. Chuck rages against AIDS, poverty, gang violence, and police brutality, while Flav bagging him over head-knocking beats. Spoken word tracks like They Used to Call It Dope, and skits like Harry Allen and Hitler Day predict the fall of major labels and the rise of radical culture critique. While critics hated on this record because of its perceived attack on gangster rap, Music in Our Message deserves more praise for being an LP truly ahead of its time. Number 3, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. Malcolm X once said that the media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. That quote hits harder when you think of how Public Enemy was received early on. From the jump, PE was in the crosshairs just like their logo. White music critics dismissed Chuck D's militant lyricism, and the Bomb Squad's chaotic production didn't sit well with mainstream audiences. Even black radio wasn't rocking with them. Their debut, Yo Bum Rush's Show, moved only 300,000 units, paling in comparison next to platinum-selling LL Cool J and the Beastie Boys. But across the pond, things were different. PE found love in the UK, touring with Def Jam's top acts and rocking sold-out shows. While they were earning respect abroad, Chuck, Flav, and the Bomb Squad were also quietly crafting what would become It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. A game changer not just for PE, but for hip-hop and American music at large. The album peaked at number 47 on the Billboard 200 and stayed on the chart for 47 weeks, eventually going platinum. Critics who had once panned them had to eat their words. Despite samples from Farrakhan speeches and Sonic Chaos, the album became a cultural landmark, still considered one of the greatest American albums ever made. Now, by now you know that we at TT are not afraid to go against the grain, hence why this album is not number 1. If you've seen our Bum B ranking, then you're noticing that albums that earn 5 mics in the Source tend to land in the top 3 on CT. So let's be real, it's damn near perfect. Tracks like Night of the Living Bassheads, Black Steel and the Hour of Chaos, which would make George Jackson and the Soledad Brothers proud, Rebel Without a Pause, and Bring the Noise are essential PE. The beats, the message, the energy, it's all there. To be honest, there aren't any skips for real. That said, Nation of Millions finds PE more on defense than offense. On Bum Rush, they didn't care who was listening. On Nation, Chuck D is clearly aware of the white gaze, defending himself, hip-hop, and black culture against mainstream criticism. It's powerful, but also subconscious. Yes, this album is legendary, but its brilliance is shaped in part by the pressure to explain black rage to people who will never feel it. Number 2, Yo Bum Rush the Show. Yeah boy, bass for your face. If you've never loved hip-hop or need to fall in love with it again, this is the album to do it. Public Enemy's Yo Bum Rush the Show dropped in 1987 on Def Jam and still hits like a brick through a window. From the moment You're Gonna Get Yours kicks in, Chuck D's booming voice and the Bomb Squad's chaotic production grab you by the throat. And get this banger was just a B-side. If that doesn't move you, the roaring guitars and unfiltered bravado of Sophisticated Bitch will. Still not convinced? My Uzi Weighs a Ton is locked and loaded, and Time Bomb will blow the hinges off your door. This isn't just one of PE's best albums, it's one of hip-hop's most revolutionary records, period, and not just politically. This is musical rebellion. The Bomb Squad obliterated every compositional rule. Just listen to Public Enemy No. 1, their iconic first single. The whole album is a middle finger to structure, to tradition, and to respectability. Flavor Flav, in all his chaotic glory, is the anti-respectability poster child. His wild energy on Too Much Posse and MPE is pure disruption. DJ Terminator X, with every Transformer scratch on Raise the Roof, or Terminator X Speaks with his hands, wages war on sacred vinyl. Chuck D, his voice commands attention, his rhyme patterns break form, and his message is clear. Just check Right Starter Message to a Black Man, which makes you dance and think at the same time. Context matters. In 1987, rap was still dismissed as a fad, or worse, a threat. PE didn't shy away from that though. They leaned in. Bum Rush sounds like the fear people had of hip-hop back then. Yes, the more explicitly conscious tracks like Mega Blast and Raise the Roof are stacked in the second half, making the front end feel a bit lighter in comparison, but let's be honest, there's really no complaint here. Bum Rush the Show is canon, and every hip-hop head should revisit this project to remind themselves why they fell in love with this genre, and a highly recommended introductory album to anyone who has yet to have bass in their face. Number 1, Fear of a Black Planet. American psychiatrist Dr. Frances Cress Welsing theorized that white supremacy stems from a fear of genetic annihilation, where whiteness, being recessive, is threatened by black genetic dominance. That fear fuels systems built to suppress black life and expression. Systems we see when novels by black authors get banned, brothers get gunned down on the nightly news, and radical black thought like this gets edited out of episodes. On Public Enemy's third album, Fear of a Black Planet, Welsing's voice and ideology are woven throughout, notably inspiring tracks like Polly Wanna Cracker and the title song. Her theory invites big questions. What happens to the mind inside a body that's feared? And does her thesis hold when blackness itself varies across geographies? When what's black in the US might not be black in Brazil, South Africa, or France? Maybe the true threat isn't just biological, but metaphysical. Maybe the sound of a free, funky drummer really could bring the whole thing down. PE's opus isn't just a musical flex, it's a deeply philosophical project interrogating the fear of blackness. But to grasp its magnitude, you've got to understand the storm surrounding it. In 1989, riding high off Nation of Millions, PE's momentum was nearly destroyed after Professor Griff made anti-Semitic remarks in an interview. The backlash was swift. Media blackouts, pulled albums, canceled shows. Chuck D was forced to address it in a press conference, fracturing the group permanently. But they didn't fold. Instead, they channeled that fire into their most critically and commercially successful album ever. Fear hits different. Chuck is sharp, defiant. Flav is chaotic genius. The Bomb Squad's production is layered, punishing, and beautiful. The mixing is the cleanest it's ever been. No skips. But what sets this album apart isn't just the music, it's the message. Songs like Brother Gonna Work It Out and Burn Hollywood Burn explore unity, misrepresentation, and low-key, the group's internal drama. The skit Incident at 66.6 FM brings the fear into focus, with white collars nervously questioning PE's existence. And of course, there's Fight the Power, a generational anthem that doesn't just end the album, it crowns it. Fear of a Black Planet is more than a classic, it's a statement, a mirror, a prophecy. And if you're feeling this list, subscribe to the channel as more rankings of legendary groups like 2 Live Crew and Run DMC are on the way. In the meantime, check out our ranking on another socio-political rapper, Talib Kweli, right here. Until next time, I'm QB. Power to the peace.